The Grand Court of Draven was silent except for the low hum of floating lights above. Tall crystal walls reflected soft green and gold, and alien nobles sat on both sides of the hall. Dressed in fine robes, at the far end stood Queen Velna, tall and proud, her dark crown shining under the lights. She looked calm, but inside, she was restless. Today was the first time in history that a human would enter the court of Draven. Years ago, Velna had called humans nothing more than dust in the wind. She believed they were weak, lost, and slow to learn. Her empire had expanded across 3 star systems. Earth, to her, was just a small blue world full of noise and pride. So when one human soldier had crashed on her planet during a battle, she gave a simple order: kill him, no trial, no message, no care. She had thought nothing of it, but the soldier had survived. He had fought back, defeated 3 of her best guards, and vanished into the wild mountains. The guards said he died from his wounds. That was the last she heard of him. Died until today. A strange energy filled the air. The guards at the golden doors stood still, then stepped aside. The doors opened. A figure walked through. He was tall and wore human armor that looked damaged by fire and time. His helmet was off, revealing a man with short brown hair, a sharp face, and a calm stare. His left eye had a scar across it, and his armor bore a strange mark, the Earth defense symbol. Queen Velna's breath stopped. Her heart jumped, her mouth opened, and she let out a short, sharp scream. Every noble turned to her. Her hand shook on the throne. She recognized him. It was the same human she had ordered to be killed. The man stepped forward slowly, eyes scanning the room. 2 guards moved toward him, but Velna raised her hand. They stopped. The human looked straight at the queen. His voice was clear and deep. "My name is Tom. I come from Earth." Nobody spoke. The hall was frozen in time. "I'm not here for revenge," Tom said. "I'm here as a voice for peace. But I was not sent by Earth. I came on my own." Queen Velna forced herself to stand. Her voice was shaky but strong. "You were supposed to be dead." Tom gave a small nod. "I know. Many tried to make it happen." Murmurs filled the court. One noble leaned to another and whispered. Some looked shocked. Others looked interested. Tom continued. "After your soldiers tried to kill me, I escaped into the hills. I was wounded, but I survived. I lived with the stone tribes in the east. I hunted, I listened, I learned. I watched Draven grow stronger. I learned your language and your ways." Velna stepped down from her throne. She tried to keep her fear hidden. "You come here alone. No ship, no army. What do you expect from us?" Tom looked at her with calm eyes. "I expect you to listen." There was a pause. Then, one of the nobles stood. His name was Dren, a strong voice in the Queen's War Council. "You're lucky to be alive, human," Dren said. "But don't mistake luck for power." Tom turned to face him. "I don't believe in luck. I believe in choice. You made a choice to attack me. I made a choice to survive." Queen Velna raised her hand again. "Enough. We will not start a fight in my court." She stepped closer to Tom. "Why now? Why return after all these years?" Tom paused. "Because Earth is changing. We are no longer looking to stay quiet. We are reaching out to the stars. Some want war. Others want peace. I believe peace is possible." The court shifted again. Another noble, a woman named Mila, rose to speak. "If this man survived on our world alone, we should listen. Not many can do what he did." Tom nodded at her. Queen Velna looked at her people. They were split. Some feared him, some respected him, but all of them were watching. She looked back at Tom. "You stand here because I allow it. Do not think your presence means you are safe." Tom stepped forward once more, closer to the throne. He placed a small metal cube on the floor. It glowed faintly. "This is Draven tech," he said. "I found it during my time here. I sent the design to Earth. We broke it down. We built it back better." Velna's eyes widened. Tom spoke softly. "Earth is not weak. Earth is learning. And Earth remembers." Velna felt her heart beat faster. She had made a mistake long ago when she treated humans as less. Now, The same human she had tried to erase was standing in her court, alive, confident, and unafraid. He was only one man, but he stood like an army dot, and for the first time in years, Queen Velna was truly afraid. Tom stood still in the middle of the royal court of Draven. The alien nobles sat in silence. Their eyes locked on him. The human was not tall like the warriors of Draven, but there was something powerful about the way he stood. He was calm, but his presence filled the room like a storm waiting to break. Queen Velna sat back down on her throne, hiding her shaking hands beneath her robe. She had not expected this years ago. She had ordered this man to be hunted and killed. Now he stood before her, not as a prisoner, but as an equal. Tom turned his head slightly and looked around the court. His eyes were sharp and careful. He was not impressed by the golden walls or floating lights. He was not afraid of the guards near the door. He had faced worse. "I come here to speak," he said. "But not just to you, Queen Velna. I want all of Draven to hear." One of the guards stepped forward, raising his staff. "You do not give orders in this court, human." Tom raised his hand slowly. "Then I will ask, not order. Will you hear my words?" Velna raised her fingers. The guard stepped back. "Speak," she said coldly, "but choose your words wisely." Tom gave a small nod and looked at the crowd again. "Long ago, I came to this world by accident. My ship was hit during a battle in space. I landed on your ground. I was alone, injured, and far from home." His voice stayed steady. Every word carried the weight of yours. "Instead of offering help, your queen sent hunters. They tried to end me without reason. I defended myself. I ran into the hills. I was supposed to die there." The nobles shifted in their seats. Some looked uncomfortable. "But I lived. I lived in the cold mountains and dark forests. I lived among your forgotten people, the stone tribes who refused the rule of the queen. They gave me food and shelter. I listened. I learned your ways." He touched a small device on his belt. A soft light showed a map of Draven, filled with hidden paths and old ruins. "I know this world better than many of you," Tom said. "And I learned more than just your land. I learned your fears, your pride, your strength, your weakness." Queen Velna's lips pressed together tightly. "You speak like a spy," she said. "Did Earth send you to prepare an attack?" Tom shook his head. "No, Earth sent no one. I came back by choice, not with a gun, but with truth." Another noble stood. It was Mila, the one who had spoken kindly before. "You could have stayed on Earth," Mila said. "Why risk coming back here?" Tom looked at her. "Because peace matters more than comfort. If I stayed on Earth, others would come, not with words, but with fire. I thought maybe I could stop that." The nobles whispered. Some nodded. Others frowned. Dren, the loud counselor from earlier, stood and shouted, "This man is dangerous. He should not be here. He has no rank, no title. He should be removed before he poisons our people." Tom looked at Dren without fear. "I'm not your enemy, but I will not lie. Earth is changing. We are growing faster than you think. If war comes again, we will not be weak. The next human to land here may not come alone." Queen Velna stood. Again, her voice echoed in the court. "And what do you want from us, Tom of Earth?" Tom raised his head. "Respect, honesty, peace. I want you to understand that Earth is not a toy for your soldiers. We are not soft. We are not slow. We remember." Velna stepped down from her throne. Her robes flowed behind her as she walked slowly toward him. "You came here knowing we tried to kill you once. Why trust us now?" Tom's answer was simple. "Because someone has to." That silence returned, the kind that wrapped around the walls and held every breath in the room. Velna stared into Tom's eyes. She saw no hate, no fear, only the quiet strength of a man who had survived everything she threw at him. Finally, she turned to her court. "This human stands in my court. He speaks with strength, but also with reason. I will not silence him, but I will watch him." She looked back at Tom. "You may speak again tomorrow. Until then, you will stay in the guest wing. No harm will come to you, but you will not walk freely." Tom nodded. "I accept." Guards stepped forward. But this time, they did not hold there. Weapons up, they walked beside him, not behind. As Tom left the court, the nobles broke into quiet talk. Dren leaned close to Velna and spoke in a low voice. "This is dangerous. He cannot be trusted." Velna did not answer. Her eyes stayed on the golden doors. As they closed behind the human. Later that night, in her private chamber, Velna stood near a wide window. Stars filled the sky above her tower. She remembered the scream that had escaped her lips when she saw him walk in. It was not just shock. It was fear. She had tried to erase him from history. But now he had returned like a ghost from the past, stronger and smarter than before. Queen Velna whispered to herself, "He should have died." But he didn't. She looked at the stars again, and a thought came to her mind, one she did not like. What if Earth was full of people like him? The morning sun rose over the towers of Draven's royal city. Its golden light touched the sharp edges of the palace, casting long shadows on the marble roads below. In the high court, nobles were already seated, waiting for the second day of talks. Everyone was talking about the same thing. The human had returned. Tom entered the court hall calmly, wearing the same worn armor. His eyes moved from face to face. He didn't bow. He didn't smile. He just walked to the center, stood straight, and waited. Queen Velna watched him closely. Her expression was calm, but her fingers tapped lightly on her chair. She had spent the night thinking about what to do. Now, the time had come. She raised her voice. "Tom of Earth, you may speak." Tom nodded once and looked at the nobles. "Yesterday I spoke of peace," he said. "Today I speak of truth." He pulled a small device from his belt. It floated in the air and showed images in bright blue light. The nobles leaned forward to see. "This is your technology," Tom said. "This device controls your energy shields." It was taken from an old outpost in the mountains. Murmurs rose. Some nobles looked surprised. Tom continued, "I sent this design back to Earth. Our engineers studied it in a short time. We understood it and made it better. What took you a century to build, we improved in weeks." One noble stood. He was tall and wore a black robe. His name was Lauro, and he was known for his calm mind. "Are you saying Earth is more advanced science than Draven?" Tom shook his head. "Not more advanced, just faster. Earth moves quickly. We do not wait. We learn from our pain. That is why I came. You saw us as weak. But weakness is not the same as silence." Another noble stood, Dren. He pointed a sharp finger at Tom. "This is a threat. He does not want peace. He wants power." Tom turned to him. "I do not want your throne. I do not want your land. I want you to understand. If you keep treating humans as lower, it will lead to war. And Earth does not lose twice." Dren laughed loudly. "You are one man, one voice. We are an empire." Before Tom could answer, another voice rose from the back. "Then listen to his voice," said Mila, stepping forward. "He speaks not with pride, but with warning. That takes courage." Mila looked around the court. "Is it so hard to believe Earth is rising? Why must we always see other worlds as threats if this human came with peace? We should not throw him out." Velna leaned forward. "You support him?" Mila nodded. "I support wisdom. If Earth can be a friend, we must consider it." The court buzzed with whispers. Some nobles agreed with Mila. Others shook their heads. The court was no longer united. A line had formed between fear and curiosity. Tom let them speak. Then he raised his hand. "I am not your future king. I am not your enemy. I am a soldier. I bleed like you. I feel fear like you. But I do not run from it." He paused. "I have lived on your world. I have seen the beauty in your sky, the strength of your people, and the pride in your history. I did not come to break that. I came to stop something worse." Velna narrowed her eyes. "What do you mean?" Tom looked at her. "Earth's leaders are watching. They did not forget what happened here. They know I was attacked without reason. I am the only voice stopping them from sending ships. If you send me away, they will not listen next time. I ask you to make the right choice." Dren slammed his hand on the table. "This is blackmail." Tom did not move. "This is truth." The court was silent again. Even Vilna did not speak. Then Mila stepped forward. I will meet with him, she said. Not in court, but in peace. Let us talk without swords between us. Vilna looked at Mila, then at Tom. Very well, you will meet under my guard. If anything happens, the blame will fall on Earth. Tom agreed. Later, in a private room lit by soft white lamps, Tom sat across from Mila. There were no guards inside, only one servant pouring tea. Mila spoke first. You have the heart of a warrior, but you choose peace. Why? Tom took a sip of tea. Because war is easy, but peace lasts longer. She smiled. That is a rare answer. He leaned forward. I didn't come just for peace. I came because I know what war will cost. Your people will suffer. My people will suffer. I lived that once. I will not live it again. Mila nodded. You may have more friends here than you think. They talk for hours. About Earth, about Draven, about the tribes, and about the future. Outside, the palace glowed in the soft night light, but inside, something greater was forming. An understanding. While they spoke, Dren met with a group of nobles in secret. He was angry. His pride burned. We cannot let this human change us, he said. If the queen will not act, we will. In the dark, he gave a simple order. Send the shadows. Kill the human before he spreads his poison. The night sky above the palace was clear and quiet, but something dark moved under its roof. 3 silent figures dressed in black slid across the walls like shadows. Their armor had no light. Their weapons were thin and sharp. They were Dren's secret assassins, trained to kill without sound or mercy. Their target was the human. Tom was resting in the guest wing, his room lit by a single dim lamp. He sat on the floor with his back against the wall, eyes half closed, but his mind awake. Years of surviving in the wild had sharpened his senses. Every creak, every whisper, every shift in air meant something. He heard a soft click near the window. Tom's eyes opened. He moved fast, rolling away from the window, as a small dart struck the floor where his head had been. It hissed and burned into the stone. Poison, the kind that killed in seconds. Another shadow entered through the balcony. 2 more came from the door. Tom grabbed the metal staff near his bed, a simple weapon he had built during his time with the Stone Tribes. He didn't wait. He struck first. The first assassin rushed forward with twin blades. Tom blocked with the staff and pushed the attacker into the wall. The second came from behind, but Tom ducked and swept his legs, knocking him down. The third tried to stab from the side, but Tom twisted the staff and struck his hand, breaking it. The fight was short but loud. Guards rushed in after hearing the noise. They found the human standing over 3 defeated attackers. One of them was still trying to crawl away. The other 2 were unconscious. Tom was breathing hard, but his eyes were calm. They came to kill me, he said. Queen Velna was called immediately. She entered the room with Mila at her side. Dren followed quietly, hiding his anger behind a fake look of concern. Tom pointed to the attackers. They are not bandits. They were trained, sent by someone in this palace. Velna looked at her guards. Take off their masks. The guards obeyed. One of the attackers was recognized at once. He was part of the royal guard, a man who had trained under Dren Velna's face turned cold. Who gave this order? The guards looked at each other. No one answered. Tom spoke clearly. I did not come here to die in silence. If I die, Earth will know. I send a message before I arrived. If I go missing, they will come. Dren stepped forward, pretending to be angry. This is your fault. You brought danger to our palace. Tom stared at him. No, someone brought it to me. Velna raised her hand. Enough. There will be an investigation. Until then, Tom will have full protection. No one will touch him. She turned to Mila. You will stay close to him. I trust you. Mila nodded. Later that night, Mila met Tom in the garden outside the guest wing. The stars above were quiet, but the air was heavy with questions. You think it was Dren, she said. Tom didn't answer. He looked up at the sky. I don't trust him, Mila added. He wants war. He wants Earth to attack. That way, he can rise in power when fear spreads. Tom looked at her. Then we stop him before he lights the fire. Mila smiled faintly. You speak like a soldier. Tom answered with a small nod. I am one. The next day, the court was filled again. News of the attack had spread fast. Nobles spoke in worried voices. Some blamed Earth. Others blamed Dren. But all waited to hear what Queen Velna would say. She stood tall before them. Last night, a crime was committed. An attack on our guests from Earth. I will not allow this court to fall into shadows and fear. Dren stood. Then send the human away. He is the reason this happened. Mila stepped forward before Velna could speak. If we send him away, we show fear. We admit weakness. Is that what you want? Dren's voice rose. I want safety. Tom stood calmly. Then stop making enemies where there are none. The court murmured again. Velna looked at them all. I will not choose fear. We will speak with Earth. We will form a path forward. I will not let one mistake destroy the future. Dren sat back, but his eyes were burning. After the meeting, Mila led Tom through the lower halls of the palace. There is someone you should meet, she said. She brought him to a quiet chamber below the court. Inside sat an old Draven warrior with a scar across his jaw. He stood slowly when Tom entered. This is Rocco, Mila said. He once served as a general. He now advises in silence. Rocco looked at Tom. I heard of your fight in the mountains. The tribes still speak your name. Tom nodded. I live with them. They showed me a side of Draven I never saw in the court. Rocco smiled. You learn more in the wild than many do in the palace. That makes you dangerous to men like Dren. Tom sat down across from him. Then help me stop him. Rocco leaned forward. There are nobles who no longer believe in the Queen's rule. Dren leads them quietly. If he strikes now, he will try to take power through fear. Tom asked one question. Will they listen to you? Rocco gave a slow nod. Some will. Mila placed a small disc on the table. We meet tonight. Not in the court, but in the old Hall of Banners. If you speak there, they will listen. Tom agreed. That night, under the moon's light, in a hidden hall beneath the palace, Tom stood once again. But this time, he was not a guest. He was a voice. Nobles gathered. Some stood in corners. Some sat on old stone seats. The air was thick with tension. Tom spoke with strength. I do not ask you to follow Earth. I ask you to protect your people. Do not follow men who seek war for pride. Follow those who seek peace with power. Some nodded. Others listened quietly. But something had changed. Tom was no longer just a survivor. He was becoming a symbol. A fire had been lit, not for war, but for truth. And in the shadows of the palace, Dren prepared for his next move. Morning light poured into the great court of Draven. The air was tense. Nobles whispered from one end of the hall to the other. Word had spread. Tom had survived an assassination. He had spoken in secret to nobles. And now, something bigger was coming. Dren stood in the center of the court, dressed in full armor, his voice loud and proud. I call for a trial by combat. Gasps filled the hall. Even Queen Velna leaned forward, eyes wide. Mila stood near Tom, her face full of concern. Dren pointed at the human. He has cause and rest. He walks among us as if he belongs here. Let him prove his strength, not just his words. By our laws, a trial by combat is his right. Let him face our warriors and show if Earth's voice has power. Velna stared at Dren, then looked at Tom. You do not have to accept this. Tom stepped forward. His eyes were steady. I accept. Mila touched his arm. You don't need to do this. You have already earned their respect. Tom gave her a calm look. This is not just about respect. It's about showing I am not afraid. The crowd grew loud. Some cheered. Some shouted warnings. The court had not seen a trial like this in many years. The arena was prepared inside. The palace grounds. It was an ancient circle of stone, built for honor battles. Nobles filled the seats around it. Drums echoed through the air. The ground was dry and rough. Tom stepped into the ring with a simple spear. He wore light armor and moved with quiet confidence. Across from him stood his first opponent, a tall Draven warrior named Kor. He was known for his strength and speed. He held a double-bladed sword and wore black armor that shimmered under the sun. The queen raised her hand. Begin. Core charged without waiting. His blade spun in the air. Tom dodged left, then rolled behind him. The crowd gasped as Tom struck with the back of his spear. Pushing Core off balance, Core growled and turned. He swung fast. Tom blocked once, twice, then dropped low and swept Core's legs. Core fell hard. Dust rose. Tom placed the tip of his spear near Core's neck. He did not strike. He waited. Core blinked, then nodded once and stepped back. The crowd cheered, but it was not over. Two more fighters stepped forward. This was the rule. A trial by combat for a stranger meant facing 3 challengers. The second warrior was a female soldier named Zeha. She moved like a shadow and carried twin blades. Her eyes showed no fear. She attacked with fast strikes, dancing around Tom. He blocked and dodged, using his spear to keep distance. She cut his shoulder once, but he stayed calm. Then, with a quick move, Tom used the spear's hook to catch her arm. He spun. Pulling her off balance, she dropped one blade. He kicked it away. Zeha smiled, nodded, and stepped back. Only one opponent remained. The third fighter wore heavy red armor. His name was Var. He was Dren's personal guard and the strongest of them all. He entered the ring with a hammer that shook the ground. Tom stood still. The battle began. Var swung the hammer with full force. Tom barely dodged. The hammer cracked. The stone. Again and again, Var attacked like a storm. Tom kept moving, using speed over power. But Var caught him with a strike to the ribs. Tom fell back, gasping for breath. Blood marked the side of his armor. The crowd grew silent. Var raised the hammer again. Tom rolled, grabbing a broken stone and throwing it at Var's helmet. It hit hard. Var stumbled. Tom jumped up and ran forward. He leaped onto Var's back, wrapped his arm around the helmet, and pulled it off. Var roared and shook, trying to throw him off. Tom dropped to the ground and swung his spear low, hitting Var's knee. The big warrior fell. Tom stood over him, bruised, bleeding, but strong. Var looked up for a moment. He said nothing. Then he struck the ground once with his fist, showing surrender. The crowd exploded with noise. Cheers, claps, and shouts echoed through the arena. Queen Velna stood slowly. "You have faced our finest. You have won with skill and honor." She raised her voice. "Let it be known. Tom of Earth has passed the trial. He is not just a guest. He is a warrior in the eyes of Draven." Tom bowed his head. Milo ran to him, placing a cloth on his wound. "You were lucky." Tom smiled. "No, I was ready." Dren stood at the edge of the arena. His face was dark with anger. His plan had failed again. The people were cheering for the human. Even those who once doubted him now spoke his name with respect. Later that evening, Tom stood on a high tower, looking over the city. Milo joined him. "You changed something today," she said. Tom kept his eyes on the sky. "Maybe. But this fight was just the surface. There is still danger here." She nodded. "I know. Dren won't stop." Tom looked at her. "Then neither will I." The stars above Draven burned bright and deep inside the palace. Behind closed doors, Dren began to build a new plan, one that would not fail. The palace of Draven stood tall under the evening sky. The court was quiet, but the people were not. Word of Tom's victory in the arena had spread beyond the palace walls. In the streets, in the homes, in the markets, the name of the human was now spoken with respect. Some called him the Ghost Warrior. Others simply said he was the man who changed everything. Inside her private chamber, Queen Velna stood near her window, looking up at the stars. Her hands were behind her back. Her face showed no fear, but her mind was troubled. The human had shown strength, honor, and control. He had gained the trust of many. Even some of her closest nobles now looked at him with hope. She turned to her. "Trusted guard, send a message to Earth. I want to speak with their leaders." The guard nodded and left at once. In a secure room deep under the palace, Tom stood with Mila and Rocco. They looked over a table covered with maps, records, and messages. A small light blinked on Tom's wrist device. He pressed it. A voice came through. "This is Earth Command. We received your full report. Is the situation stable?" Tom answered clearly. "Not yet. but progress is being made. The voice continued, "Prepare for a formal meeting. One of our ships is approaching Draven. Arrival is expected in 2 days." Mila raised her eyes. "Your people are coming here?" Tom nodded. "Yes, but not to fight, to talk." Rocco leaned forward. "If your ship enters our space without warning, Dren will use that as fuel. He will say it is an invasion." Tom looked at them both. "Then we make sure it is not seen as one. I will speak first. Let the people know Earth comes not with fire, but with reason." Across the palace, Dren walked quickly through a side hall. 2 of his followers walked beside him. "They are bringing a ship," he said, "a large one. We must act before it arrives. If we let the humans stand with Earth's fleet, the people will choose his side." One of his followers asked, "What do you want to do?" Dren answered without pause, "We strike now. We take the court. We remove the queen. And we stop the human before the ship lands." He gave orders to his hidden soldiers. By the next sunset, the palace would no longer belong to Velna. But that night, something else happened. The sky over Draven flashed with blue light. A shadow appeared above the city. It was massive, smooth, and silent. The Earth ship had arrived. Earlier than expected, people ran outside. They stared at the sky in silence. The ship hovered without making sound, its lights glowing gently. It did not fire. It did not move fast. It simply waited. Inside the court, Velna stood from her throne. She looked calm, but every guard around her was ready. Tom entered the court and walked to the center. "That ship is a message," he said. "A message of peace, but also of strength." Mila stepped beside him. "The people are watching. They are afraid, but they are also curious." Dren stormed into the court. "This is a trick," he shouted. "This is how invasion begins. First they send one, then they bring the fleet." Tom looked at him. "There is only one ship, and it is not here to fight." Velma raised her hand. "Enough. Let the ship speak for itself." A light beam shone in the middle of the court. A figure appeared. It was a hologram of Earth's ambassador, a calm woman in a blue uniform. "Greetings, Queen Velna. I speak for Earth. We come with open hands. We wish to speak of peace and growth, but we are prepared if peace is refused." Dren stepped forward. "You threaten us." The ambassador looked at him. "We do not threaten. We promise protection. We do not seek your land, your sky, or your power, but we will defend our people." Velna stood. "I will speak with Earth. I will not let fear control this court. But no talks will happen until we know who sent assassins after our guest." The ambassador nodded. "We understand. We wait." The light vanished. Tom turned to the queen. "You are making the right choice." That night, Dren gathered his forces. He planned to take the court before sunrise. But his plans were already falling apart. One of his own guards had sent a message to Rocco. The guard had seen enough. He did not want to follow a man who pushed the world toward war. Rocco met with Velna and gave her the full list of Dren's loyal followers. "They are many," he said, "but they do not have the people, and they do not have the court." Velna gave the order just before dawn. Royal guards moved through the palace. Dren's soldiers were rested in their rooms, caught before they could even draw their weapons. Dren himself was cornered near the east tower. He tried to run, but Tom stood in his path. "You brought this on yourself," Tom said. Dren pulled a blade, but it was too late. Guards surrounded him. He dropped the weapon and looked at Tom with hate. "You should never have come here." Tom looked him in the eyes. "I came because someone had to." Later that morning, the court met again. Velna stood before her people. Draven almost fell into darkness, she said. But one voice stood firm, a voice from Earth. She looked at Tom. "You were once my enemy, but you became something more. Not a ruler, not a soldier, but a bridge." The nobles clapped. Mila smiled. Rocco nodded with pride. Velna continued, "We will speak with Earth. We will not fear them. We will walk forward together." Outside, the people of Draven looked at the sky. The human ship still floated above them, but it no longer brought fear. It brought a chance for something new. And far above the world, in the quiet command room of the Earth ship, Officers watched the surface below. A captain spoke softly. Maybe. This time, we won't need war. The sun rose higher above the shining towers of Draven. The city streets, once filled with fear, now held the soft hum of hope. Flags of the royal court waved beside the symbol of Earth. People gathered in the main square, looking up at the sky, where the Earth ship hovered like a watchful friend. Inside the palace, the throne room had been changed. The broken pieces from the fight were cleared. New banners hung on the tall walls. The throne had been repaired, and beside it stood a second chair. It was not a throne, but it was placed with honor. Tom stood near the center of the room, dressed in his Earth uniform. The crowd watched him with respect, not as a stranger, but as a man who helped save their queen and their future. Queen Velna stood beside him, dressed in royal robes of green and gold. She raised her hand. Today, we turn the page. We do not forget the past, but we do not stay in its shadow. The one who stood beside me in danger is not of our world, but he fought for our people as if he was one of us. Tom gave a respectful nod. I did what any soldier should do. I protected the innocent. I helped those who wanted peace. Mila stood nearby, her armor polished, her head held high. The crowd looked at her with pride. Once seen as just a fighter, she was now a symbol of change. She had stood beside a human, defended her queen, and faced her own people to do what was right. Rocco, too, had gained new honor. He stood as commander of the queen's personal guard. His loyalty had never shaken, and now it was rewarded. The queen turned toward the people. Let all of Draven and all of Earth hear this. We will build a future together, not one of control, but one of balance. Trade, learning, and friendship will grow between our worlds. The crowd cheered. Far above, in the Earth ship, Captain Lena watched the scene through a large screen. Her officers smiled. One of them turned and asked, "Do we send the report to Earth Command?" Lena nodded. Yes. Mark it as a peaceful alliance. No invasion, no occupation. Just one brave soldier who changed everything. In the days that followed, the city changed even more. Small teams of Earth engineers began working with Draven builders. Schools were open to share knowledge. Children from both worlds played together in open fields. Shops sold food and goods from both lands. Tom walked through the city with Mila. People greeted them with smiles. Some gave gifts. Others simply nodded with respect. I never thought it would feel like this, Mila said. Like what? Tom asked. Like, peace could be real. Tom looked at the blue sky. It's never easy, but it's possible. They stopped near the old arena. It was no longer used for war games. Instead, it had become a place for stories, plays, and music. The sounds of laughter filled the air. Mila smiled. I used to fight here. I never thought I would hear music in this place. Tom laughed softly. Music is a better sound than weapons. In the palace, Queen Velna met with her council. She had replaced the old warlords with new voices, people who believed in unity. Rocco was now head of the new Defense and Peace Council. Mila was offered the title of Cultural Guard, a symbol of strength and wisdom. And Tom, though offered a high seat, chose something else. He stood before the queen and said, I wish to return to Earth for now, but I will come back if you ever need me. The queen nodded. You have a place here, always. Our city stands because of your choice. Before he left, a grand feast was held in the main hall. Dancers from both worlds performed together. Food from Earth was shared beside Draven dishes. Lights sparkled in the air. Tom stood with Mila and Rocco, watching the people celebrate. You helped plant the seed, Rocco said. Now it will grow. Tom smiled. Not just me. All of us did this together. The next morning, Tom stood at the landing platform. The Earth ship had landed quietly, waiting to take him home. Mila walked beside him. She looked strong, but her eyes showed emotion. You really are going back. For now, Tom said. There are other places that need help, but I'll return. This place matters to me. Mila looked at him for a moment, then hurried back. Tom stepped onto the ship. The doors closed slowly behind him as the engines powered up. He looked out through the clear window. He saw the city, the palace, and the people waving. The ship rose into the sky, climbing higher until the city was a small dot below. On board, Captain Lena greeted him. "You did well, soldier." Tom nodded. "It was never just my fight. It was theirs too." She smiled. "And now it's peace." Tom looked ahead at the stars. "Let's hope it stays that way." Back in Draven, Queen Velna walked through her garden. Children played nearby. Birds flew above. She breathed in the warm air and felt hope. Mila stood on the palace wall, watching the sky. She touched the small symbol Tom had left with her. It was a simple badge with Earth's emblem. She wore it with pride. She whispered to herself, "Human. Soldier, you walked into our court and changed our world. You were the storm we feared, but you brought the peace we never expected." And so, two worlds once far apart were now walking side by side. Not in war, but in peace. One soldier, one queen, one fighter, and one people had written a new chapter, not in fear but in unity.